Hello and welcome. My name's Irene Lee, and I'm from MIT, and with me is Helen Zhang from Boston College. We'll be presenting the talk called Ethics in AI Education, Preparing K-12 Students to Become Informed AI Consumers and Responsible AI Developers. We'd like to thank the National Science Foundation for their support of our work. The rapid expansion of AI across fields and industries necessitates developing a workforce with strong computational skills and specifically the knowledge and capability to work with AI. Furthermore, the ubiquity of automated prediction and decision making is altering the fabric of society by changing who has access to information, freedoms, and economic opportunity, wherein those from historically marginalized communities are at greater risk of the negative impacts of bias in AI. Thus, equity in AI education, or lack thereof, will dictate who has power to develop AI technology and also who will have the knowledge and skills to audit AI systems, seek justice for themselves and others, and advocate for fairness in AI. Previous work has shown that students are capable of understanding ethical concepts, both in relation to themselves and society at large. Researchers have shown that even young children have a conception of ethical behavior. Lee et al. Found children under the age of 7 show a preference for self-satisfying action, but around the age of 7, they get more. Getting more while others get less is not seen as just. The middle school years are formative time for learning to reflect on one's behavior and its impact on others. Students in the middle childhood years typically have developed a sense of morality and a conscience based on values. Many young teens recognize the importance of societal norms and of following the rules of good society. These findings support our hypothesis that students can develop awareness of the ethical considerations around AI. We define AI literacy at the K-12 level as a subset of AI knowledge and competency relevant to becoming an informed citizen and critical consumer of AI, where an informed citizen is one who can contribute to democratic processes and discussions around AI. AI literacy encompasses understanding of AI technical concepts, understanding of AI related ethics, and the feeling of being empowered with AI. In comparison, within university level computer science education, ethics is often taught as isolated from core technical concepts. Existing CS Ed programs that teach ethics are not standardized in content, pedagogy, or extent. And there are only scant literature about how teacher ethics sorry, how to teach ethics effectively within computer science. Within engineering education, ethics is considered a professional ethics or applied moral philosophy. And strong arguments have been made for the inclusion of ethics throughout engineering design. There have been calls for curricula that address three aspects of ethics: emotional engagement, intellectual engagement, and particular knowledge, such as currently accepted guidelines in ethical practice. Within AI education, the 5 big ideas from the AI for K-12 initiative form the basis of what every K-12 student should know and be able to do with AI. In particular, big idea number 5, societal impact, advocates for students to understand the impact of AI on society by identifying and examining the ethical criteria for these algorithms. Also, Long and McGorko, in their framework for AI literacy, have specified ethics as a core AI competency. Though AI education is just emerging at the K-12 level, AI concepts have been taught at the collegiate level for decades. In 2024, Narayanan and Valar made the case for integrating ethics into college coursework, arguing that in order to see ethics as an important part of the building process, students must be able to practice ethical decisions during in class collaborations. Traditionally, ethics is taught as distinct from computer science. Wiesler, Garrett, and Beard found that while the number of ethics courses has increased in recent years, ethics and technology still are mainly taught separately. In efforts to marry the two concepts, Skirpen et al. Integrated ethics throughout an undergraduate human-centered computing course and demonstrated a meaningful increase in students' consideration of ethics in technology design. Next, I'll pass it to Helen to talk about our approach to integrating ethics with AI education.
Thank you, Irene. Our approach basically calls for an organic interweaving before AI technical concepts and models and the related ethical issues. Here in this slide, I will talk about how we applied this approach in the design of our developing AI literacy or daily curriculum for middle and high school students. In the daily curriculum, basically each of the ethics activity was designed to follow the lessons that teach them about the relevant technical concepts so that students will have sufficient background technical skills and knowledge before they can make sense of the related ethics issues and even come up with potential solutions to some of those issues. And also because ethics is completely new topic for our students, we curated and sequenced a series of AI ethics activities following a carefully designed learning trajectories for students to make sense and develop a deeper understanding about ethics. So I'll talk about those in depth later. First, I want to give a quick overview of our daily curriculum. And this is a 30-hour curriculum aiming to develop AI literacy among middle school students and early high school students. The design of the curriculum was based on our definition of AI literacy, as Irene mentioned earlier, that students need to learn the subset of AI knowledge and competence relevant to becoming an informed citizen and critical consumer of AI. Therefore, the main goal of the curriculum, we want to encourage students to think about AI not just as a technical concept, but also recognize that AI is a socio-technical system that has profound personal, career, societal implications, and also can potentially do harms. Specifically, you can see here, the curriculum includes 4 different parts: ethics, core technical concepts, creativity, and career futures. And by looking at, but the 4 parts were mingled together. And you can see here, if you look at into this yellow column, this listed about the AI core concepts taught in the daily curriculum. And these concepts were informed by the literature around AI literacy education, as well as reviewed by a group of educators and AI content experts. In the curriculum, we cover logic systems, supervised learning, neural networks, and basics of generative AI. Note that at that time, when the curriculum was created, it was back in 2020. So at that time, GANS was one of the popular generative AI models. The curriculum also emphasized about the creative use and applications of AI. That's why we have this whole blue column where students learned about what are GANs, how do GANs work, and also explored about AI generated art and text, and look into deepfakes and misinformation. Besides this, in terms of the ethics and AI career futures, these two columns emphasize getting students to understand about ethical issues related to AI and also becoming aware of the AI's impact on current and future careers so that they can become more flexible and adaptable in the age of AI. Next, I will talk in details about how the learning of technical concepts and ethics of AI are interwoven in 3 of our curriculum modules. Here is the first module, where the main focus was to teach students about what AI is. And in terms of the technical learning about the technical concepts of AI, students go through 3 main activities. They first learn about the age-appropriate definition of AI. They understand, then learn that AI often involves working with the data, learning algorithms, and often makes some predictions. Afterwards, the students explore and discuss various examples of technologies. And finally, they identify the use of AI in their own everyday lives. So the picture on the left shows the activity where students are showing different kinds of pictures of technologies and will ask you to tell whether and why the technology uses AI or not. So one thing is very interesting is this kind of discussion often leads to students would ended up doing more research over the internet, try to get more information about the technology to make their decisions. And some of the teachers also led a very engaging discussion where they ask students to imagine what kind of features can be added to a technology that is not AI in order to make it AI. For example, we have this kind of toast that currently at the current stage, probably most of them don't use AI. But then the teacher asks the student to imagine if it's going to use AI, then what kind of features would it be? So altogether, this would not only become a kind of imagining and engaging activity for students, but at the same time, it also depends students' understanding about what counts as AI or not. Along the learning of technical concepts, students will also, in the same module, introduce two ethic activities. The first one is to design an algorithm to make the best peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Then the second one is for them to make a ethical metrics for them, try to imagine different stakeholders in terms of making this peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and what their values and how their different values would lead to different kind of algorithm. So here, the picture on the right side is a sample ethical matrix created by a student. The student identified the 3 stakeholders, a child, parent, and doctor, in terms of making the sandwiches. And according to the student, the child probably only care about the taste of the sandwich, whereas the doctor probably only care about the nutrition of the sandwich. And as a parent, you care about all the 3, the taste, the nutrition, as well as the cost of the sandwich. And other students imagine about other stakeholders, such as it's a chef, probably only value about the taste and the cost. And if you are a grocery store owner who wants to sell things fast, you probably care more about the cost. So altogether, these 2 ethical activities ethics activities basically were designed to elicit students' prior ethical ideas and try to stimulate their ethical imaginations. Again, considering this middle and early high school students who probably was the first time ever encountering the concept of ethics. It's critical to get them to elicit their ideas and stimulate their imaginations. Next, in the second module, students learn about logic systems for classification and prediction purposes. Students learn these concepts through 2 main activities. First, they learn how to create decision trees for classification purposes through the PastLane activity. They basically need to classify pastas by their key features and build a decision trees to classify them. And afterwards, they tested their tree's ability by sorting new types of pasta. In the second activity, They design decision trees that group clothes into categories of whether it's for winter or whether it's not for winter through this kind of shared features or trees of the clothes. And again, afterwards, they need to test their decision trees by predicting a new type of clothes or by categorizing a new type of clothes. The picture on the left shows an example of a decision tree created by students. You can see the student was still in the process of trying to figure out of the distinguishing features to distinguish some of the leaf nodes in the decision trees. And in terms of the ethics activities, students learn more about ethics by examining some of the existing technologies, such as Google image search. They try to use Google image search to search the pictures for recreational activities and found out most of the pictures were white male or doing some outdoor activities. And then afterwards, students discussed about what kind of bias they found and whom the bias might impact. The purpose of this activity was basically help students to recognize potential ethical issues for those existing technologies. One reason for this activity was that, often students hold a misconception that computer-based technology has no bias and is always correct, is always objective. So this activity would serve as a good example to help correct their misconceptions and help them recognize or become aware of those ethical issues. In the next ethics activity, students would compare and contrast the different decision trees they created and discuss why those decision trees were different, and then relates to how people who are making different choices of the features and how the decisions might impact the people users differently when they are using the decision trees. As a final activity, they also learned about multiple cases where AI technologies such as facial recognition system did harm to people. Here is on the right side is a picture of one of the case studies about when facial recognition system was used in job screening. So students talk about the potential harms, and altogether, these activities encourage students to take ethics more seriously, as they could become victims of those harms in one day in the future. Okay, in the third module, students learn about supervised learning through hands-on experimentation of Google's teachable machine. In terms of technical concepts, we learn to train a supervised learning model using the teachable machine. They experiment with using different kinds of data, such as image, sound, and gesture. And finally, they reflect on the processes involved in the supervised learning, like the training phases, the testing phases. In terms of the ethics activities, students actually experimented with using an unbalanced data set to train models using teachable machine. And afterwards, they compared with the models when trained using a more balanced data set. Here, the picture shows an example when students were using a data set where only has 7 pictures of dogs and 14 pictures of cats to train the model. And they're going to compare these results with a model trained with 14 images of dogs and 14 images of cats. And afterwards, the students discussed about how to potentially mitigate the bias and then generalize this to other examples of algorithm bias. Altogether, this activity in Module 3 aimed to increase the students' sensitivity to ethical issues by enable them to actually train an AI model using teachable machines. Okay, overall, these examples of the 3 modules illustrate how these ethics activities can be integrated into the learning of AI concepts and modules. These activities also need to be designed to sequence the following learning trajectories, specifically for this age of students. First, you need to start by trying to stimulating their existing ideas about ethics and spark their ethical imaginations. And then afterwards, help them become aware of the ethics issues and start to take those ethics issues more seriously. And finally, you can further increase their sensitivity to these issues through hands-on training of the models, the AI models. And the ultimate goal is to make the students feel they are informed of various potential ethics-related issues with AI so that they can make decisions in the future regarding whether to use certain kind of AI-enabled tools or not. From our research of implementing the daily curriculum among twins and teens, we found high engagement of all students and increase in their AI ethics awareness and knowledge after learning with the daily curriculum. In particular, we found female students from racial and ethics minorities groups were particularly engaged in all ethics activities. In our exit interview, here is one female student told us about her takeaways of one of the ethics activities. She said, AIs like Google and the facial recognition, you can clearly see the bias in that. And even though we think that these things are very, very smart, but I never considered that they might have been really biased until going over these things. So you can see that this activity definitely helps students becoming aware of the bias in a lot of existing technologies. And another finding is that we found students were able to articulate a plan to minimize bias of AI tools if they were going to design in the future. In a exit interview data, most of our students were able to articulate plans with some of the ways to potentially mitigate the bias. Here is just an example of a student. She said she wants to develop an AI model to distinguish different kinds of crayons. And then she said, first I will get all types of things in a specific system. Then I would double check. I will keep on checking over it. And I would check it with every type of crayons. So after I made it, I would just pick random crayons and see if it got the color right. And if it didn't, I would train the data set on that specific color to give it more information. So from this code, you can see that the student not only explained about the training and testing phases of a supervised learning model, but also talked about how she tried to mitigate the potential bias caused by the data set. So overall, we conclude that integrating ethics throughout the teaching and learning of AI technical concepts is effective and possible for learners. This conclusion also resonates with the vision for responsible AI and tech justice for K-12 education as published by the Kaplan Center last year. Specifically, the report calls for equipping all students with the knowledge and resources to critically interrogate the ethical and the equitable development, deployment, and impacts of AI. Thank you very much. Feel free to email us if you have any questions. Thank you.